You don't plan to make a blockbuster. You plan to make a good film. And that's what I think they never let me, they didn't put that pressure on me to live up to. They never gave me a number that we have to hit or a so-called figure that I have to open to. There was, all these trappings were just not there, which normally producers do end up putting that pressure. Then you make wrong things. Then you add a song for a shadi song.
Hello and welcome to India Matters. Tonight is not a happy night. It takes just one single crime to remind us as a nation in 2025 how little progress we've actually made. And that's the reason why this woman is a woman who brings us all tonight. But I'm going to be saying something on tonight's show that may offend you all, but I urge you to keep listening. Everyone is only blaming Nikki Bharti's husband and mother-in-law for her murder. Those two monsters did definitely kill her. And those monsters, in my view, deserve capital punishment. But tonight, viewer, I also blame Nikki Bharti's father equally for her murder. Yes, her husband Vipin and her shameless in-laws finally killed her. They snuffed out her life. But it was the father, this man you see on your screen, who wrote her death sentence, and I will tell you how. Nikki was beaten, tortured, humiliated at her Greater Noida residence, and she fled to her parental home multiple times this year. Did you know that? 3 times she fled to her father's house, and every single time she was pushed back into the fire. Now, her father, grieving father, I have to respectfully say, still surrounded by village elders, blames only the husband. Do I offer Bhikari Singh Paila my condolences? Of course I do. Who would not? But I have no sympathy. I have zero sympathy for the father tonight. His tears do not move me even a little. He is, in my view, as much responsible for his daughter's death as his cowardly, murderous son-in-law is. The father cannot hide behind the excuse of society. I am done accepting society and community as reasons for allowing the murder of your own child. I'm the father of an 11-year-old girl, viewer. And I don't pretend to sit here and say I am the same as everyone else. Everyone has circumstances. Everyone has their community pressures. But doesn't the life of your child represent a line in the sand? I spit on such traditions and these poisonous pressures that pretend to protect honor but bury girls and women. Nikki Bharti is not just a victim. She is a mirror held up to a country that has normalized dowry violence. She is the face of thousands of women who are tortured in silence every single day. Most of those stories never make it to the news because of so-called parivar ki izzat, family honor. Many are buried suicides. Some end in brutal murders that are quietly settled in police stations. A small, minuscule number come to light because of mobile phone videos or social media. Nikki Bharti is lucky we even know about her death. Look at the data. More than 6,400 dowry deaths reported in 2022 alone. That's the last year for which we have Crime Records Bureau data. That is 18 women every single day reported. Every single day in this country, a young woman is beaten, strangled, burned, forced to kill herself because a man and his family wanted more money. And we still allow fathers to sit on television like Bhikari Singh Paila and say, society made me ignore her pleas. Society made me get her married to this family despite knowing that they were demanding dowry. What kind of society is this where parents wash their hands of responsibility by blaming tradition? Am I wrong in wondering what kind of ridiculous tradition, what kind of ridiculous families, what kind of ridiculous communities put anything above the lives of their children? where community elders and shameless panchayats, murderous panchayats in Uttar Pradesh and elsewhere, decide what women must endure in the name of family izzat. This is not culture. This is not tradition. I spit on these traditions tonight. This is barbarism dressed up as family honor. And we are, let me remind all of us, in 2025, Vipin Bharti, the cowardly, shameless husband, is a coward and a criminal, and I sincerely hope that he faces the news. But he is the smallest part of this nightmare. He is the one who drove the knife into her. The real murderer is the society that has normalized dowry and every parent who sacrifices their daughter to its rituals. How many of you watching tonight, viewer, know of a dowry case in your own family circle, your own mohalla, your own gated colony? Do not look away. Do not dodge my question, however uncomfortable it may be tonight. You may look at me and say, Shiv is being insensitive by attacking a grieving father. I have no sympathy for this grieving father because he sent Nikki back 3 times this year. The last time just a few days ago, only for her to be burnt alive in front of her 7-year-old son. This is the truth we have all buried. So I say tonight to Bhikari Singh Paila, the shameless panchayats of Dadri, and everyone in that family who convinced young Nikki to go back to her marital home. Nobody is fooled by your useless tears tonight. Nobody sympathizes with your community constraints. Nobody understands the pressures. And the reason for that is your murdered daughter. You sent her to her death 3 times this year. The message to the family she married into was that Nikki's parents don't care about her being beaten and tortured and set ablaze. And so they took the next step. It is you who wrote her death sentence. And I wasn't joking when I said Nikki Bharti was sent 3 times back to her marital home despite arriving at her father's house bleeding and bruised. It started, and I'm talking about just this year. She's been married 9 years, February 2025, this year. Beaten by the husband, Nikki and her sister went home. Vipin, the husband, and his family apologized, and the sisters were sent back on the advice of these shameless panchayats. 16th August, the second time, Nikki was beaten bloodless again by her husband. This time she again fled to her parents' home. A compromise was reached between families mediated by village elders. 21st August, that was the final time she would ever see her parents. An argument broke out between Nikki and Vipin. She went home, father sent her back. She was set on fire. And now she is completely dead. Well, I spoke to Bhikari Singh Paila, the father of Nikki Bharti, for whom, as I've just said, I have zero sympathy today, because he's the one who wrote the death sentence of his daughter. Nikki is dead. It's a story that has shocked the entire country. It has reminded the entire country about the monster of dowry death that continues to plague a country that is in 2025. It's a story that happened in the national capital region, just a few kilometers from where I'm bringing you this broadcast from this afternoon. This 28-year-old woman has become a household face and name because of the horrible, brutal, merciless manner in which Nikki was murdered because her family was not able to pay 36 lakh rupees in dowry 9 years after she married a monster called Vipin Bharti. And now joining me live is the father of young Nikki, who was burnt alive and murdered while she was even being filmed by a heartless family into which she had married 9 years ago. Bhikari Singh Paila is the father of Nikki and he joins us today. Bhikari ji, namaskar. हमसे जुड़ने के लिए धन्यवाद. पहले हम अपना condolences, अपना श्रद्धांजलि व्यक्त करते हैं. मेरा पहला सवाल भिखारी जी, उस दिन क्या हुआ था हमें बताइए. अभी तक 2-3 वीडियो क्लिप सामने आए हैं जिसमें साफ दिखाई देता है कि क्या हुआ था, लेकिन आपके नज़र से क्या हुआ था, डिटेल में बताइए भिखारी जी.
जिंदी बेटी को जलाया जा रहा था, मेरी बेटी को। उसको जिंदी को जला दिया और परिवार वाले सारे घर के सारे बंदे भाग गए वहाँ से। दादी भी पोतेन को लेके चली गई, पोती को और बहू को वहीं छोड़ के सारा परिवार वहाँ से भाग गया। एक बेटी मेरी जल ली है, एक बेटी को छोड़ के बेहोश छोड़ के भाग गई। दूसरा पड़ोसी आया वहाँ से और वो बेटिया को हॉस्पिटल लेगा फोर्टीज।
उसी पे फ़ोन करना है।
बड़ी बेटी को होश आया, उसने बड़ी बेटी ने मुझे फ़ोन किया, पापा निक्की को जला दिया। हम नंगला गांव में थे, हम वहाँ से सीधे फोर्टीज पहुँचे। डॉक्टर से हमने पूछा क्या स्थिति है, डॉक्टर बोला 70% जल चुकी है बिटिया। वहाँ से डॉक्टर बोला यहाँ से रेफ़र कर रहे हैं सफदरजंग मेडिकल के लिए दिल्ली। हमने बड़ी एम्बुलेंस का इंतज़ाम किया, ऑक्सीजन वाली का, और बेटी को हम दिल्ली लेके चल दिए। बेटी के पल्स कम हो गए, बीपी लो होने लग गया। हमने सोचा ये दिल्ली नहीं पहुंच पाएगी, सेक्टर 27 ले जाएंगे, कैलाश हॉस्पिटल में इसको एडमिट करेंगे। हमने ड्राइवर से बोल दिया भैया सीधा कैलाश लगा दे। कैलाश पहुँचे हम, जैसे ही डॉक्टरों को दिखाया, डॉक्टर बोले कि यहाँ नहीं है इसका इलाज, सीधा दिल्ली ले जाओ सफदरजंग। हम दिल्ली पहुँच गए। दिल्ली 7 नंबर गेट में हमने एंट्री करी सफदरजंग में, बेटी ने दम तोड़ दिया। वहाँ से डॉक्टरों को, हमारे मन को तसल्ली ना हो, फिर भी हमने डॉक्टर को दिखाया। डॉक्टर बोले इसमें कुछ नहीं है। हम बेटी को ले आए जी। बेटी को हमने पोस्टमार्टम के लिए पोस्टमार्टम हमने करवा के, और वो लोग जो हमसे पोस्टमार्टम पे वो 10-20 आदमी इकट्ठे होकर वहाँ पहुँचे कि बेटी को हमें दे दो। हमारे परिवार वाले ने सलाह करी कि भाई बेटी को तुम क्यों दे दें, जब तुम बेटी को वहाँ जलती हुई को छोड़ के सब भाग गए, और रास्ते में हमारे साथ कोई भी तुम्हारा सदस्य था नहीं। हम जो बेटी को ले आए, मेरी तो मोदी योगी से ये रिक्वेस्ट है कि ऐसे दरिंदे को फांसी की सज़ा होनी चाहिए, नहीं तो मोदी योगी कहते हैं कि बेटी बचाओ और बेटी पढ़ाओ। इनके घर पे बिल्डोज़र चलना चाहिए। मेरी बेटी की आत्मा को जब शांति मिलेगी, और मेरी आत्मा को जब ही शांति मिलेगी जब इनके घर पे बिल्डोज़र चल जाएगा। और मोदी योगी से मेरा ये कहना है, एक पर्स वाले चोर पे तो भूमाफिया बना के उसके घर पे बिल्डोज़र चल जाता है, इस पे बिल्डोज़र चलेगा। ये परिवार समाज को जब ही शांति मिलेगी। मेरे परिवार बिरादर को इतना जोश है कि बेटी को जिंदा जला दिया।
भिखारी जी, इस घटना से पहले कब हुई थी बात आपकी निकी से?
निक्की से मैं 5 दिन पहले गया था। मैंने सारे घर को फिर समझाया बैठा के बेटा घर को चलाओ। घर का संतुलन सारा बिगड़ गया और बेटी जल गई। अब मेरे पास कुछ नहीं रहा। जब मेरी बेटी चली गई तो मेरे पास क्या रह गया? कुछ नहीं रहा मेरे पास, खेल खत्म हो गया सब।
भिखारी जी, हम समझ सकते हैं आपकी पीड़ा, आपकी दर्द आज, लेकिन मैं ये आपसे पूछना चाहता हूं कि आपको ज़रूर पता होगा कि आपकी बेटी को टॉर्चर किया जा रहा है, उनको सताया किया जा रहा है। आपने कोई एक्शन क्यों नहीं लिया इसके पहले? आपको पता ही होगा कि उसके घर में ये सब हो रहा है। हाँ, ऑडियो इधर आ रही है।
सर, हमारे यहाँ पीड़ित ये लोग जो आते हैं ना, बिरादर समाज के आते हैं, तो उनकी माननी पड़ती है। बेटी मैंने उन समाज के मानने से भेज दिया, और समाज ने गलती मांगी, उन लोगों ने गलती मांगी। तो मेरा रिक्वेस्ट यही है सर, मोदी जी से भी और कोर्ट से, न्यायालय से भी मैं चाहता हूँ कि इनके लिए फांसी हो, और मोदी योगी से ये हो कि बाबा का बुलडोजर इस पे चलना चाहिए घर पे।
भिखारी जी, आपकी बात से मैं सहमत हूँ। मैं सहमत हूँ आपकी बात से कि इनको फांसी दे देना चाहिए, लेकिन मैं आप पर इल्ज़ाम नहीं लगा रहा हूं भिखारी जी, लेकिन लोग आप पर भी इल्ज़ाम लगा रहे हैं कि आपने अपनी बेटी को बचाने के लिए काफ़ी नहीं किया। बिल्कुल, एकदम। आपको पता ही होगा कि उसके साथ क्या हो रहा है।
सर,
उन दरिंदों के पास?
सर ये तो अपने बचाव के लिए कुछ ही कह सकते हैं, अब तो कुछ ही कहते रहे। जब मेरी बेटी मेरे देवते के सामने जल रही है, जिसका बच्चा सामने है उसके सामने जल रही है। सर मैं और ज़्यादा कुछ कहना ना चाहता, सुबह से मेरे सर में दर्द हो रहा, हर मीडिया वाला आता है मेरे पास
जी।
मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट यही है कि मेरी जो ये सुनवाई हुई।
भिखारी जी, इसमें दो बात नहीं हो सकते। हम पूरा का पूरा आपके साथ ही हैं, आपके साइड पर ही हैं, आपके लिए ही हम बात कर रहे हैं इस स्टोरी पर, हम स्पॉटलाइट लगा रहे हैं। लेकिन मैं आपसे सिर्फ समझना चाहता हूँ कि क्या सोसाइटी, समाज का कुछ प्रेशर था इसके पहले 9 साल पहले आपने अपनी बेटी की शादी एक ऐसे घर में क्यों करवाई जहां दहेज मांगा जा रहा था? क्या आपको नहीं पता था कि ये इलीगल है? क्या आपके पास कोई चॉइस नहीं थी? ये समझना चाहते हैं आपसे। नहीं, मेरा नहीं है, मेरा तो लाइट।
सर हमारी बिरादर में एक दूसरा ही शादी करवाता, और जब ऐसा कुछ नहीं था, ये तो उस टाइम तो बिटिया सही विदा की थी मैंने, लॉकडाउन में, उसमें नोटबंदी में मैंने शादी करी थी।
हेलो।
जब उस टाइम कुछ नहीं था, जो मीडियम दर्जे की शादी होती थी वो कहती।
भिखारी जी, हर किसी ने आपके पोते का वीडियो देख लिया है, अब उसका देखभाल कौन करेगा?
देखो, देवते की तो देखभाल मैं करूंगा, जैसा मुझ पे होगा वैसा पढ़ाऊंगा, जैसा मैं खाऊंगा ऐसे उसको खिलाऊंगा।
लगा रहा हूँ 2 मिनट, 1 मिनट।
भाई मुझ पे उसकी माँ तो आएगी नहीं, और जो मुँह पे फैसिलिटी होंगी वो फैसिलिटी उस बच्चे को मैं दूंगा।
जी। भिखारी सिंह पहला,
बच्चा शाम को माँ की याद आती है, रोता है।
जी।
ये ले लो वायर, अब छोड़ दो, हो गया वायर, ले हटाओ, छोड़ो, बहुत हो गया।
आप अपने पोते को क्या बोलेंगे अब? भिखारी जी क्या बोलेंगे अब? उसके मन में भी सवाल होंगे अब, उसने अपने ही आंखों से देखा है कि उसकी माँ के साथ क्या हुआ है।
शाम के टाइम रोता है कि मेरी माँ मेरे सामने जलाई है, उससे प्यार से समझाता हूँ, बेटा अब क्या होएगा, अब तो कुछ नहीं है हमारे पास, तो अब
हटाओ ना वायर,
कुछ रहा ही नहीं।
रफीक दादा हटाओ ये वायर।
भाई वो हटा देगा, इसे पहले हटा दो। वो अच्छा नहीं लगेगा।
वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड द पेन। भिखारी सिंह पहला हमसे बात करने के लिए धन्यवाद। फिर से हम बताते हैं कि भी this is a story that has shocked the entire nation. It's not just one dowry case, it's become representative of how dowry is widespread no matter what the strata in different parts of this country. The death of Nikki happened in the national capital, and on NDTV, death by dowry continues to be a national campaign. Nikki Bharti is dead. She was just 26 years old. Her pictures are going viral everywhere. She looks like someone anyone could have known. She was on Instagram. She used to make reels. She ran a beauty parlor. She had a 7-year-old son. She lived in Greater Noida. She's like someone anyone could have known, and now she's gone. And the only thing left are images of her stumbling down a blaze down a staircase after being beaten senseless by her brutal in-laws and husband. She's gone, and there is no bringing Nikki Bharti back. But someone who did manage to survive dowry violence of the most brutal kind is another young Indian woman named Sonali. That's her on your screen, viewer. Newly married, she's been brutalized in Gwalior by her in-laws and her husband, and she currently is in Delhi's Gangaram Hospital fighting for her life. I've taken the decision to show you this picture without censoring it, with the permission of the family, because this is the reality and I don't want anyone to look away tonight. The father of young Sonali, we've managed to convince him to be with us live today, because unlike Nikki, who is gone, she's dead, Sonali is fighting for her life for the last few weeks in the intensive care unit of Gangaram Hospital. And we're also joined by Dr. Ranjana Kumari. and Niharika Karanjawala Mishra, who's a lawyer. सतीश जी, मैं आपके पास पहले आना चाहता हूं। सोनाली के साथ क्या हुआ था, डिटेल में बताइए कि क्या हुआ था, उनका हालत कैसे है अभी, बताइए सतीश जी।
सर हालत तो ठीक नहीं है सर। गंगाराम में अभी ऑपरेशन चल रहा, वो ट्रीटमेंट चल रहा है सर, और वेंटिलेटर पे रखी हुई है वो तो सर आप देख ही रहे हैं। 19 तारीख को क्या हुआ था सर, तो बिटिया को कोल्ड ड्रिंक में जहर दे दिया था। उससे पहले उसको उसको जलाया गया था। 15 दिन पहले उसको जलाया गया था। उसने हमको न बताते हुए मेरे भाई का लड़का उसको फोन किया था कि भैया ऐसे मुझे जलाया है। तो लखनऊ खवाजी थी सोनाली ने, तो भैया अभी कुछ मत कहना, सावन चल रहा है, सावन को मैं घर जाऊंगा तब मैं पापा को, क्योंकि मेरी तबीयत खराब रहती है, मेरे बाल कपड़े कोई डॉक्टर ने बता, तो वो कुछ ये नहीं बता रहे कि पापा को कोई अटैक वटैक ना आए। मुझे नहीं बताया। 19 तारीख को रात को 11:30 बजे फोन आया था, तो मम्मी के लिए उसने फोन किया था कि मम्मी मुझे कोल्ड ड्रिंक में कुछ दे दिया है ने। तो मैंने इधर से फोन किया था तो भैया आदित्य की जो लड़की को ले आया है, आदित्य को मैंने फोन किया तो उसकी तबीयत खराब हो रही है, सांस नहीं आ रही है, उसकी ज्यादा तबीयत खराब हो रही है, उसको हॉस्पिटल ले जाओ। तो बोले तो वो मैं रात को कहाँ ले जाऊं, और लॉक डला हुआ था, चाबी खो गई थी। तो मैंने कहा चाबी खो गई, उसका लॉक तोड़ दो, 200-250 रुपए का ताला आएगा, उसको तोड़ दो। नहीं नहीं मैं सुबह ले जाऊंगा। तो फिर मेरे साले साहब रहते हुए ग्वालियर में, उनको फोन किया, मैंने कहा ऐसी ऐसी स्थिति है सोनाली की, कृपया करके जल्दी जाओ तुम और सोनाली को देखो क्या स्थिति है। वो गए, तब भी नहीं उन्होंने ताला खोला। दूसरे के बगल के घर वाले से चढ़ के छत पे गए, वहां से छत तो हो रही निकाल के लाए, और जिन लोगों ने बोला ताला तक नहीं खोला। वहां जाके बिरला हॉस्पिटल है ग्वालियर का, ठीक ठाक हॉस्पिटल है, अच्छा हॉस्पिटल है, उसमें भर्ती किया। मतलब डॉक्टर ने बिल्कुल हाथ उठा दिया कि 1% भी चांस नहीं है इनके बच्चे। ठीक है सर, जो भी कुछ भी है। मैंने एम्बुलेंस करी, मैंने कहा आपको रेफर कर दीजिए। मैंने एम्बुलेंस करी तुरंत दिल्ली के लिए। मथुरा में जाके बहुत स्थिति खराब हो गई, वहां वेंटिलेटर लगा दिए, वहां ट्रीटमेंट किया जो भी डॉक्टर ने दिया वो। वहां से सीधे दिल्ली के लिए, और दिल्ली में आज 1 महीना होने को आया। 1 महीना हो गया वेंटिलेटर पे रख के, और इतनी बुरी स्थिति ये रहा, आप देख ही रहे। मतलब 1% आज भी है बचने के, अन्यथा काम टेन। तो मेरा सर आपसे एक ही निवेदन है, कैसे दहेज लोग जो, मतलब दहेज लोग ये इसलिए कह रहे हैं कि इन्होंने बुलेट की मांग की थी कि मुझे मोटरसाइकिल चाहिए, मैंने बेटी के ब्याह में 14.5 लाख रुपए नगद।
सतीश जी, मैं आप पर इल्ज़ाम नहीं लगा रहा हूं, लेकिन मैं सिर्फ समझना चाहता हूं कि अगर इस परिवार की तरफ से दहेज की मांग थी तो आपने आपकी बिटिया को क्यों इस परिवार में भेजे?
नहीं सर, पहले मांग नहीं थी सर,
शादी के बाद मांगे।
हाँ बुलेट मांगी थी कि बुलेट और दो
जी,
मोटरसाइकिल बुलेट दो। तो हमने बोला था कि मेरा एक बड़ा लड़का है वो शादी लाए, तो मैंने कहा जब उसकी शादी होगी तो हम बुलेट भी दे देंगे, आज नहीं दे पाएंगे। 14.5 लाख रुपया देने के बाद हमने बुलेट को भी डिमांड किया।
इट इज ट्रूली शॉकिंग। सोनाली अभी गंगाराम हॉस्पिटल में हैं, यू कैन सी इन दिस पिक्चर्स। सतीश जी हमारे साथ बने रहिए। डॉक्टर रंजना कुमारी, one of India's most well-known activists on women's rights, on dowry issues and other such terrible things, is with us. And Niharika Karanjawala Mishra, lawyer, principal associate with Karanjawala & Co, is also with us. Welcome to you both. Dr. Ranjana, to you first. The story of Nikki Bharti is in all our minds. She's dead. And these pictures now of young Sonali, her father is live with us right now. She's fighting for her life. She's on ventilator after being brutalized over dowry demand that was made after marriage. What would you say to these families, ma'am? These are terrible statistics. 6,400 women have died in dowry demand cases in 2022. And I am guessing that's just a tiny fraction of what the real number is.
You are absolutely right that when 10 cases happen, 10 girls suffer and get brutalized, only one has the courage to report, or the one who really died, the way this girl died, her burning body fell from the stairs and the son is watching. The sister tried to make a video and the beasts were trying to beat her up and kill her. Then only those kind of cases come up. And we have been fighting against this such an entrenched system, which even was illegalized, but nothing has happened because the law never, except for initial few years, has never been implemented effectively. Because a lot of people started making noise that women are smart, they are educated, they are. Now ask them what they have to say about this. Because, this is a society which has absolutely no intolerance for such a crime, which is totally crime against humanity, not against just women. And as you were saying, that whole country is today in a shock. No, globally people are asking questions. Every newspaper, every channel is asking, what is this going on in India? So I think, we are putting not only ourselves to a huge amount of, presenting a society which is so criminalized for want of or greed for money. Dowry is nothing but greed for money, easy money. When you get your son married, you get everything easily. Look at the way he's saying that I would have given a motorcycle after my son's marriage. That means he would demand a motorcycle so that he can give it to the daughters or to the son-in-law. So, this is something which is, and why are these parents giving this dowry? How many parents have been arrested for giving dowry? Not even one till date. But giving is also criminalized. Taking dowry is done by these greedy vultures who are asking for more and more and more and never satisfied. But parents whose children these girls are, and why can't these children come back home and settle down? For example, in Nikki's case, why she was running a beauty parlor? Why couldn't she run that beauty parlor from home? Why she has to be with the husband who's a drunkard, who's not doing any job, who's beating her mercilessly? Both the sisters were getting beaten up. And why to keep your daughters in such houses? And what is this compulsion of marriage? Why? Why are you pushing girls into these kind of hell and then you're not willing to bring them back? So I think both ways. These are rascals. Whatever you want to say is less for the families of in-laws who are greedy, who are vultures, who are criminals and killing the girls. But what about the parents?
No, absolutely.
Why are you...
That is the reason, Dr. Anjana, that is the reason why I have called out the father today. And I said that, how can anyone put their child's safety and life, below societal pressures and community pressures and these shameless panchayats to whom we have given so much importance as a country? They are criminals. I say that openly tonight. Niharika Karanjawala, the public is wondering. The public is wondering. In the back of our minds, all of us know that dowry is rampant. We need to constantly remind ourselves that dowry was criminalized in the 1960s, and yet the statistics that we see today are terrifying. It's happening everywhere, at all strata of society, from the rich to the middle class to the poor. What is your view, ma'am?
Absolutely, Shiv. You're absolutely right. And I think it's important to keep in mind that even as the law progresses, society progresses slower and at its own rate. So I think what the need of the hour and what the real silver lining, if at all, in tragic cases like Nikki and Sonali's cases, is that it brings this to society's attention in an undeniable way. I feel like at a district level, a lot of efforts need to be made to reinforce both to families demanding dowry and carrying out heinous acts, as well as to families from whom the demand is being made, that these are criminal acts. They are criminal acts that are met with swift retribution from the state, and that swift punishment follows in such acts. And even to the families whose daughters are married into such houses, I think it is essential to remember that if cruelty is being carried out at any level, one must keep in mind that it can escalate, and that if your daughter is being treated in this way, do not feel any societal compulsion to send her back into this home. In fact, Dr. Anjana will be able to attest to this more than anyone, I believe. In a lot of cases, even when there is no physical violence in the home, there is a phenomenon known as separation violence, where in, I think, about 70% of all instances where separation violence erupts, it can be serious to fatal. So, I mean, even in instances where cruelty has till now been simply verbal and psychological, which people tend to take at a far less serious level
very
than
true.
physical cruelty, it can suddenly escalate to a near fatal or completely fatal level. So I think at a family level, at a district level, we need to ensure that there is a zero tolerance outlook to things like this. And the small silver lining in cases of this sort are that society is forced to confront these harsh realities.
Very true. And you know, Satish ji, his case, Dr. Anjana, is also very scary. He says, Satish ji बोल रहे हैं कि the दहेज की मांग happened post the शादी. After the शादी के बाद ये मांग सामने आई थी. So what do families do in such a case? Do they have a choice? Satish ji को भी घबराहट होगी. If he refuses the dowry, now that it is being demanded, now that his daughter is in their house, that some harm may come to her and he will have to pay it, he's helpless. What would you say to such people, Dr. Anjana, and then Niharika? Dr. Anjana first.
Shiv, you are absolutely right that, such parents get stuck. They don't know what to do, but they have to keep giving. Because let me tell you, with my own study, which Brides Are Not for Burning, which I wrote many years back.
Yes, indeed.
And when I went to each family, these girls do not own anything which is being given. It's all given to the family and to husband and to all the men of that family. So actually, you are not really giving anything to your daughter for her comfort. And the greed doesn't stop. So if you give once for one occasion, there'll be so many occasions in that family that they'll keep asking and expecting you to keep paying it. And that's what happens. The pressure will be always on the girl's family to keep giving the money and on the girl to keep asking for this. So it's better to, kind of have a strict implementation of the law.
Yeah.
Tell the families that, look, if you demand, you are going to go to jail and I am also going to go to jail.
Yeah.
Because this is criminalized by the 84 law. It was completely criminalized and we were marching on the streets of Delhi to get the law changed. But look at this. I mean, unless we do real serious implementation and courts wake up to this call and do not drag these cases, they give swift and certain, justice quickly. And also, secondly, also the family should start, who are these padosi kya kahenge, rishtedar kya kahenge? Where are those people today?
But the thing is,
himself.
Niharika made a very interesting point when she said, the laws can change, but society takes a while to catch up. I'm wondering, it's been 62 years since dowry was, criminalized, and I'm wondering how long it's going to actually take to catch up. Niharika, what would you say to Satish ji today? The kind of dilemma that he and his family are in right now, they are stuck.
So, Satish ji obviously has my tremendous sympathies, and I wish for Sonali to have a full and speedy recovery. It is very, very difficult and painful for parents in these circumstances.
Niharika, if you wish to say it in Hindi, you can say it in Hindi.
My Hindi is not that strong.
No problem.
So
continue.
Unfortunately, I won't.
That's fine. That's fine.
Waste
Continue.
your time with that. But what I would like to say, however, is to all families who find themselves in these scenarios, I feel that ultimately the solution to all of these issues is education and empowerment of women and taking a zero tolerance approach. Also to ensure that your daughter is not isolated in circumstances of this sort. If pressure is being placed upon you and your family, you speak to the other family, speak to your neighbors, speak to their neighbors, make it clear that they are behaving in this way. It is often societal pressure and this notion of, oh, what will the neighbors think, that drives people to curb their less acceptable behavior. And as such, if there is a societal condemnation on mistreating your wife, mistreating your daughters-in-law, mistreating your children, people will also follow suit. Do not allow your children to be isolated in circumstances of this sort, and do not hesitate to reach out to authorities. I also feel that state governments should undertake education campaigns, put them on, like, with hello caller tunes, have educational campaigns on there at post offices, at hospitals, and create safe spaces where you can give a complaint, safe spaces where ladies may often be without it getting back to their families that they are there.
I'm just, I hear you, Niharika. I'm just wondering, we've been sensitizing society, families, communities for so long. Are we winning this war with 6,400 women still dying from dowry cases even in 2022? And those are just the reported cases. I'm almost out of time. But आखिरी सवाल सतीश जी के लिए आज. सतीश जी, बहुत लोग जो NDTV देख रहे हैं आज, आपकी कहानी सुन रहे हैं, वो आपसे सुनना चाहेंगे कि आप क्या बोलना चाहेंगे. आप एक पिताजी हैं, आप क्या बोलना चाहेंगे? आपकी बिटिया अभी हॉस्पिटल में है, आप क्या बोलना चाहेंगे और परिवारों को?
सर, मेरा आपसे एक ही निवेदन है कि ऐसे दरिंदों को, जो दहेज लोभी हैं, ऐसे दरिंदों को सख्त से सख्त सजा दी जाए. पुलिस तुरंत एक्शन ले. हमारे केस में 1 महीना होने को आया है. 1 महीना में एक जगह पुलिस ने कहीं दबस नहीं दी है. पुलिस बिल्कुल फेल्यूअर है. ग्वालियर की महाराजपुरा लगता है थाना. पुलिस ने एक सिंगल जगह मतलब कहीं दबस नहीं दी है, जिससे लोग जो दरिंदे हैं वो परेशान होके सिलेंडर करें. इसलिए सर आपसे एक ही निवेदन है कि ऐसे दरिंदों को जो दहेज लोभी है उनको सख्त से सख्त सजा दी जाए, जिससे और लोगों में संदेश जाए कि अगर हम किसी बेटी को परेशान करते हैं, जलाते हैं, मारते हैं, तो जो उनके साथ हुआ है वही मेरे साथ होगा. सर आपसे यही निवेदन है.
हम सतीश जी, हम NDTV पर एक कैंपेन चला रहे हैं, हम डेथ बाय डाउरी बोल के. हम ये एक नेशनल कैंपेन बनाएंगे because we also know that dowry continues to be an evil among us. Sonali is a victim. Nikki is a victim. Thousands of other women, 18 women a day are dying because of dowry demand in this country, and those are just a drop in the bucket of what the real reality is. So we will continue to keep the spotlight on this terrifying story, whether it is Nikki, Sonali or so many other nameless women. Satish Sharma ji, हमसे जुड़ने के लिए धन्यवाद. We pray for the health and the recovery of young Sonali. हम प्रार्थना करते हैं कि सोनाली ठीक हो जाए बहुत जल्द और हॉस्पिटल से बाहर आ जाए. Dr. Anjana and Niharika Karanjawala, thank you also for being with me tonight on this story. And from dowry to another big evil of our time, political corruption. Well, it was none other than Union Home Minister Amit Shah who entered the battlefield against the opposition on the issue of corruption. I still remember being super impressed, viewer, with Rahul Gandhi back in 2013. He had walked into a press conference in Delhi and declared that the ordinance protecting convicted MPs like Lalu Prasad Yadav ought to be torn up and thrown out. It was this press conference at the Press Club of India in 2013. Many grumbled at the time that it was disrespectful to Dr. Manmohan Singh, who was the Prime Minister then, that Rahul had broken ranks in public. Sure, it may well have been part of a dramatic image-building exercise on the threshold of an election being led by Rahul Gandhi, a calculated effort to paint Rahul Gandhi as a young, fresh reformer, separate from the tainted and jaded old guard of the UPA. But for me, it struck a chord, and I have to be honest with you. Here was a politician saying something that cut through the noise and called out corruption in plain words. In the end, it turned out to be a dud electorally, because we know what happened in 2014. Rahul Gandhi was never really in a position to project himself as an anti-corruption crusader after sitting silently for nearly 10 years of the UPA when corruption was the raging issue of the day. Finding his voice only with elections a few months away in 2013 was never going to convince the public. But the principle of his opposition to that ordinance was absolutely correct. And it is worth remembering that the very first victim of Rahul's righteous indignation was Lalu Prasad Yadav. Because flash forward a decade now, Lalu is now Rahul's closest ally and friend. In the middle of today's political battle over the corrupt Netas bill, where civil discourse is at its lowest, Rahul stands shoulder to shoulder with the very man who symbolized his one clear principled stand back in 2013. Yes, today Amit Shah's words will be angrily dismissed as hypocritical. And yes, the charge that the BJP is a washing machine that calibrates its anti-corruption stance to suit the accused has some merit. There are enough examples of that. But when Rahul Gandhi's entire political genesis was crafted around tearing up a bill to protect corrupt politicians, then what ground is he left standing on when he gamely embraces the very first casualty of that principled position? Lalu Prasad Yadav. Is Amit Shah really wrong to question these double standards, especially when Rahul presents corruption in such fierce blacks and whites? Is Rahul really in a position to be an anti-corruption revolutionary when his party balks at the tainted Netas bill? Has Rahul's politics abandoned the principled theoretical ground and entered the world of evident compromise simply because he has racked up 3 major election defeats and now finds common cause with the Lalu family to burnish a socialist son of the soil identity for himself? Let me be absolutely clear. I do believe that the principles of natural justice are not fully upheld in this tainted Netas bill. Yes, I do believe there is room for political vendetta. But I also believe this country needs a draconian measure to uproot political corruption at the highest levels and shake the system. And if the opposition says it cannot trust the judicial system to play guardrail here, as Amit Shah has emphasized, then what does that really mean? The truth is, everything is a narrative war today. And in this narrative, the public will see an opposition against a bill that seeks drastic and rapid accountability for crimes by elected representatives. There is nothing principled about that. And joining me live tonight on the big debate over the tainted Netas bill, on which Home Minister Amit Shah has just put out an aggressive defense in an interview, is Nalin Kohli, spokesperson of the BJP, senior advocate in the Supreme Court. But I'm going to start with Vivek Tankha, a member of parliament in the Rajya Sabha from the Congress party, also a senior advocate in the Supreme Court. Welcome to you both and thank you for your time, Mr. Tankha. I'll start it off with you. Your first response to what the Home Minister has said. He has said that this is a moral argument, that the Congress has failed the moral test by opposing the tainted Netas bill and that it exposes double standards. How would you respond, sir, to that?
There's a historical perspective also. If you remember, till BJP had not come into power, whenever somebody faced such a charge or arrested, he or she would immediately resign. You didn't have to have a law for that. It used to happen automatically because there was always a moral side. The problem only began when there was a trust deficit in the investigations made during the last 10 years. There was a feeling that the opposition parties are being singled out. There was a feeling that the opposition leaders are being arrested when there was no case. Satyendra Jain is one such example where the CBI says there's nothing to charge him. But you did keep him in jail for I don't know how much time. So because of the trust deficit, questions are arising that this law has been brought only for the reason that it is like aiming for the opposition, that you put them behind bars, getting bail, in many laws is not easy, especially, for instance, PMLA, where there's a twin test and 30 days can pass very easily. And once 30 days pass, the gentleman, he or she has to resign. So there's the opposition feels, and a lot of people in the country have an opinion, that this is an ill-conceived bill. There should have been a better thought process. Maybe it's now being discussed by the Joint Parliamentary Committee, so there will be input from all sides.
Yes.
And frankly speaking, in my opinion, such a bill was not even needed, but for the fact that the opposition leaders, in some of them at least, who were imprisoned and they didn't leave the government, and they continued to function, which never used to happen before. So till BJP came into power, it was an unwritten law or an unwritten text that whenever there was a charge, somebody was arrested, forget arrest, even if there was a serious allegation, people would resign. This changed only when the BJP government came into existence.
Let's hear from the BJP. Nalin Kohli, how would you respond to that specific charges saying such a law wasn't even necessary? It's because of the way the BJP has been that a law has been made necessary. This is not anti-corruption but anti-opposition, says Vivek Tanka.
Sure, I think Vivek ji is a dear friend and a very senior person, so I understand his perspective, but I don't agree with it. I have a counter perspective and let your viewers look at it. So let's now put it in a different way. Up to 2014, there was a certain model, primarily because that's when the Congress had almost an uninterrupted reign or being in power, except for some years, like the ND was there for 6 years, there was a Janata government, things like that. Broadly, it was Congress supported for most of it. So it was business like usual. That business like usual has been shaken by the establishment of Prime Minister Modi from 2014 onwards. So now let's say there's no need for a law. The biggest cash recovery in the history of India, and I'm saying history of independent India from 1947 right up to today, is in the house of a Congress MP or ex-MP in Odisha, 350 crores. I mean, let's again repeat the figure so that it sinks in, 350 crores. Within Bengal, let's take the current case of a Congress MLA, 12 crores cash. 12 crores cash. I mean, basically, you don't spend more than 10,000 rupees now in cash. You do everything digitally. This person has 12 crores cash in his house. So obviously, the Congress party has something to worry. The old system or the old nuance on which they work, that business could go on as always, will happen. Let's say the case of Satyendra Jain. There are multiple cases on him. Some he's getting discharged, but some he's not being given bail. So you can't use the ones which have, let's say, the evidence doesn't stand up that much, to say that the ones in which evidence stands up, you will reject those. Life is not that easy. If a bureaucrat is arrested, that person is suspended immediately. These are the rules in state after state in the center. In every field, the minute there is an arrest, there is a suspension. In the case of politicians, there was an act that used to say that you will have to resign. And then that was sought to be changed. Mr. Rahul Gandhi tore that famous ordinance and threw it in the dustbin when Manmohan Singh ji was there. Now, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Ms. Sonia Gandhi and others are facing serious charges in National Herald. They may not be arrested, but have they resigned from their post? So if I take the argument of Vivek ji, why haven't they resigned as MPs? When after all, they've got no relief, whether before the income tax, whether before the High Court, or so on and so forth. So therefore, it's about accountability. Now, accountability will exist whether the BJP is in government or it's not. Today, the BJP is in government. Tomorrow, somebody else may be. Earlier, somebody else was there. Today, the BJP is there. Now, there's a JPC on that. A committee of the parliament is there. That committee, some opposition members are saying we will not even attend it. So you can't have it both ways. You will not participate. You will not put your reservations to it. But you will come out in the media and run it down as draconian. So it doesn't work like that. It's a democracy. If you believe in it, say do function in parliament and go ahead and do your parliamentary duty.
Mr. Tanka, respond. The BJP basically saying this is a law that will apply to all. Let it go through the process. Let there be a discussion on it. And the principal stand taken by the Congress is because you've got something to hide in the face of a proposal for tighter accountability of alleged corruption at the highest levels.
I think my friend Nalin, who's also a very good lawyer, we all practice in Supreme Court together, and of course I've known his family for a long time. So let me say that first of all, what was the need to bring this bill on the last day? You know, if you are bringing a salutary bill which has great moral overtones, do it in a way which is welcoming. You know, a good bill, you can always put it for discussion. Take people into confidence, and then bring. Why bring it like with so much of trust deficit? Number two, as my friend Nalin, of course, mentioned about some MPs and MLAs. This bill is not for MPs and MLAs, by the way. This is only if you're a minister. You don't cease to be an MP or an MLA because you were put behind bars for 30 days. This is not the intent of the BJP government today through this bill. So that argument, of course, of his is not correct. And let me tell you that personally, I believe in the highest moral and ethical values in public life. I'm one of those. If forget a charge, if somebody even alleges something against me, which is obnoxious, I would not stay a day anywhere.
Yeah.
Because I feel that you should be scared of your shadow when you're in public life. I'm that sort of a person. So my problem is, what I see in this bill is that you brought this whole thing in a very strange atmosphere where there's so much of trust deficit. People look at every move of yours as something targeting at the opposition. Because in the last 10 years, all raids, all cases, everything is against opposition. Are you trying to say that nobody in BJP is corrupt? Nobody in BJP has money? Or I'm not alleging against anybody in particular. What I'm trying to say is the atmosphere.
Yeah.
That as if all agencies are only targeting for the opposition. So if you bring such a bill in this atmosphere, how do you think it's going to be accepted or respected or welcomed?
Nalin, it's about intent. And that is the reason perhaps why there is this opposition as well to the way it's been brought in.
Vivek ji has correctly pointed out it's for the MPs and the MLAs. My example, and I must add to it because he's correct in my making that thing, it's not for an MP, MLA, but I'm just basically using the argument for public office in that sense. But yes, it is primarily those holding public office. And if someone of that stature, someone who's taken the oath of the Constitution, is found, say, with a raid of, say, ₹1 crore cash, should that person step down or not? Would bail be easy or not? I mean, that's really a moral, ethical question. And Vivek ji, while he does point out to the good old days when resignations took place, in today's time, across governments, in states and others, we don't see that. It doesn't matter whether whose government it is, but that's a factual thing. We don't see that old politics that was earlier. And perhaps that is maybe because everyone believes, let us be proven guilty, because law says you are innocent until proven guilty. But let me come to the atmosphere bit, which is the more important point that he makes. Let me ask it in a different way. Vivek ji says and sir says that, look, suppose, yes, you had bought it earlier in a more congenial atmosphere. Has Parliament in this session functioned like that? Let's now look at it from how the opposition has behaved. So if it was bought on the second last day, how would it have been different? They were still disrupting. If it had been bought 7 days before this, it would still not have made a difference. The atmosphere was not congenial. There were attempts from the government also that can we have some Parliament functioning. So when it is not functioning, you don't have a choice. You bring it in the manner that the situation presents itself. Now, Parliament is a forum to function. Yes, the government has the primary responsibility, but it takes two to tango, two hands to clap. So if the BJP is on the government side, the treasury side making that effort, can the opposition say that, no, we will disrupt endlessly? So the issue was even to that extent that when Subhranshu Shukla is to be discussed, that day also Parliament didn't function. That had nothing to do with the BJP. That has to be about celebrating an Indian going into space, the second Indian. So I think there are a lot of gaps. The opposition is entitled to have its point of view, but I wouldn't agree to those points directly because I think there's a counter view, which is what I'm presenting.
Mr. Tanka, final question then. Now that this bill, you've questioned the intent and the manner in which it's been brought in. You've correctly pointed out that there is a trust deficit. And let me personally also add, I don't think this will ever, apply to someone of your stature. Your own reputation for integrity precedes you. So let me place that very much here on the record. But do you believe that now that it's going into a committee in Parliament, it can be discussed at face value rather than the many political colors that have, rightly or wrongly, become layers over what is a very serious conversation on political corruption, sir?
And perhaps someone like Vivek ji also is part of that committee for his party to consider, because these are people with enormous amount of experience, not just in life, but also in law.
Mr. Tanka?
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you, when I was Additional Solicitor General of India, Mr. Moily had constituted a committee for electoral reforms. And Election Commission was also a partner. Law Ministry was a partner. And with the Election Commission and the Law Minister, we traveled across country and held discussions with stakeholders, which included BJP chief ministers, even Mayawati ji, and all over. I still remember that everywhere we went, where we were talking to stakeholders, there's a crying need for electoral reforms. People are fed up with the kind of expenditure one has to incur for getting elected, which is a larger challenge, a bigger challenge. Then there are challenges about state funding, that even if you introduce state funding, would people still be funding after the state funding? So as I said, we have traveled so much and heard so much. I think this piecemeal attempt by the present government is highly insufficient. Of course, there's a trust deficit, which I said earlier.
Yeah.
But more than that, I thought there is a need that you should have a full-dress parliament session for 10 days, 15 days on election reforms. But today, a good person, an educated person, a professor or a teacher, they can't even think of fighting an election. The elections have become so expensive and so difficult. So I think there is a time for a larger debate rather than just a piecemeal reform.
Nalin, final word to you. Piecemeal, priorities, time for a larger debate.
On this point, I'd say that everyone who's in a democracy, all political parties, irrespective of their political hues, and what Vivek ji is saying is a point to consider in terms of the larger question of electoral reform. But that doesn't mean that a step in that direction has to be kept waiting till the larger discussion takes place. So I think there's a place for both.
Nalin Kohli and Vivek Tankha, illuminating. You know, you're on both sides of the political spectrum right now. This is an issue which has supercharged the political conversation. There is a trust deficit, but as two seasoned men of the law, it's really good to hear this conversation being under the spotlight. And we will continue to debate it. We'll have to see what happens in Parliament, in the committee, etc. But always a pleasure. Thank you very much, Mr. Tankha. Thank you very much, Mr. Kohli, for joining me.
Thank you, Nalin. Thank you, everybody.
Hello, Moto.
Moto G96 5G. All eyes on you.
He's a soldier, you are a soldier, and this is war.
When the world rages, a soldier stands firm and focused on his mission. Just like Finesta Windows is engineered to keep out noise, dust and rain.
Switch to Finesta Windows. Don't forget to watch War 2 from 14th of August.
जब मुंबई से वापस कोल्हापुर शिफ्ट हुआ तो सबने कहा कि ड्रीम सिटी को छोड़ रहा है। ड्रीम सिटी तो मैंने कहा ड्रीम में तो यही गलियां आती हैं। तो जब ये रियलाइज़ हुआ कि कुछ बड़ा करने के लिए बड़े शहर में रहने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, तब लगा कि लाइफ में ग्रो किया। कशित आई ऐसे बॉय मिलते मुंबई में, चांस ही नहीं।
SIP करो, इन्वेस्ट करो, लाइफ में ग्रो करो।
प्रतिभूति बाजार में निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। निवेश करने से पहले सभी संबंधित दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
Finesta Windows, beautiful and durable designs. इंस्टॉलेशन से मेंटेनेंस की लाइफ लॉन्ग कस्टमर सर्विस। आपके घर में फिनेस्टा नहीं है तो कॉल कीजिए।
Fine, finer, Finesta.
माय बर्थडे गिफ्ट टू पापा, ये उनके पापा की पहली गाड़ी एक गराज में पड़ी थी दार्जिलिंग में। फिर 3 मैकेनिक, पेंटिंग, पॉलिशिंग। जब इसे फाइनली घर लाया ना, तब लगा लाइफ में ग्रो किया है। बुलाओ।
SIP करो, इन्वेस्ट करो, लाइफ में ग्रो करो।
प्रतिभूति बाजार में निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। निवेश करने से पहले सभी संबंधित दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
हेलो बोलिए मैडम, डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा।
We investigated a shady advisory firm that has spent big bucks on advertising on the front pages of national dailies.
ये आपको बिल्कुल उसका ऐसे हल्का सा भी खौफ नहीं है?
मैडम एक बात को खौफ किस लिए रखना चाहिए तो बताओ, कौन सा गलत काम कर रहा हूँ मैं?
After our report, we also saw NSE came out with a cautionary circular to the investors. Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India has also come out with a release talking about the actions that it has taken. Cyber complaint has also been filed against the entities involved in this entire dabba trading scam.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India, it matters to India, and it matters to me, and it matters to me.
India matters with
Good evening, you're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Padmaja Joshi and I'm delighted that you have chosen to join me here from tonight onwards. But before anything else, I seek your indulgence for just a minute. For far too long, we have seen news shows where agendas have been passed off as objective reporting. Whether opinions of a few are thrust as the absolute truth, the only truth. Look, everyone has a point of view. If you have a brain, you will have to have a view on things that matter. But the problem was that so far, some people would voice their opinion on you, the viewer, as the gospel. No facts offered, no reasons given. And if you dared disagree, you would be damned to the basket of deplorables, a bigot, the unwanted. Or even worse, there would be a this or that reporting. There is this side also and there is that side also. Because it's so much easier to do that instead of speaking the really difficult truth. That time is over. Now, here, you will hear a clear opinion on every single issue. But I will also tell you why. You can agree, you can disagree. But here, there will be no more pussyfooting around the difficult details anymore. Every night at 9, the buck stops here. So let's start with a big buck today. Over the last 3 months, the temple town of Dharmasthala in Dakshin Kannada in Karnataka had been making headlines across the globe. And why not? After all, the charges made against it were extremely serious, of mass rape, sexual harassment and murder. It was made to seem that the temple town was littered with the buried bodies of young women, men, even children. Headlines were written about how a pall of fear hangs heavy in the area. Families talk in hushed whispers about the unspeakable crimes. And Al Jazeera even declared that this is one of the most horrific alleged crimes in all of India. But what was the basis of all of this? One man, a mysterious masked man who came from nowhere in June and said that as a sanitation worker between 1995 and 2014, he'd been forced to carry out these burials, that he was witness to mind-numbing horrors. Soon after, the ecosystem kicked in. Amid screaming headlines and agonized editorials, the state government constituted an SIT for a detailed investigation. Deep penetration radars were deployed. Human remains were exhumed. And then it all came to naught. It was all fake. The so-called whistleblower has been arrested 2 days ago. He had lied. His claim of murder was fake. His claim of buried bodies was fake. He had said he would help recover the remains of hundreds of raped and murdered women. He couldn't recover even one. 17 spots were dug. 2 human remains was all that was found, but both of them were male. One of them supposedly died of suicide. But now the question is, this man may have been arrested. He will face the law for perjury or worse, and he must. But could he have acted alone? What interest did he have in surfacing out of the blue 11 years later? Who prodded him? Who financed him? Did someone tutor him? These questions demand answers. Dharmasthala demands answers. Its devotees need to know. And that is why now the opposition BJP has demanded a central investigation into the Dharmasthala defamation to determine whether bigger forces were at play, if a Hindu temple was actually singled out as a target. And this is not coming from nowhere, because there is good reason that today there is fear that this was a much, much wider conspiracy. Over the last few months alone, there have been insinuations, sustained attack on Dharmasthala, where AI has been used, innuendo has been used, and outright lies have been used. Here's how. First, of course, there is this masked man that we have spoken of. This masked man who emerged and said, I was a sanitation worker in 1995 to 2014. I have buried scores and scores of bodies. Eventually, it found out that he had fabricated the facts, that he was lying, and now he is under arrest by the same SIT who had relied on his evidence. Second is a woman named Sujata Bhatt. Now, this lady also said that she had a daughter, an MBBS student who had gone missing in Dharmasthala. Can you imagine how brazen the lies were, that she actually produced a picture of a woman who eventually turned out was not even related to her? She was a woman named Vasanti. Another family stepped forward and said, she's our family member. She's Vasanti. She's not your daughter. Eventually, Sujata Bhatt has said that she doesn't have a daughter at all. She says that she was instigated by some individuals. The third person is a YouTuber, MD Samir. He has now been booked. He has been questioned for using AI. The charge against him is that he actually used artificial intelligence to show visuals which were misleading. So far, he has got anticipatory bail. But the question with all of these people, all of these individuals, is only one. Did they really act alone? Or did they act in concert? And if yes, who was the power? What was the power that was acting behind the scenes? All right, the BJP has kicked off a Dharmasthala Chalo Yatra. They allege that this is a state-sponsored conspiracy, but on the basis of joining us is BJP MP from Bengaluru South, Tejasvi Surya. Now, the government of Karnataka has a very simple logic. It is our SIT which arrested this masked man. How can you accuse us of being co-conspirators if we are the one who called him out?
Well, first of all, Padmaja, good evening and best wishes to you on this new innings here. The state government cannot make that argument today because the state government, if you go back and see how this entire episode played out, the very first reaction of the chief minister when this absurd allegations was made by this masked unnamed man, this whistleblower, was that he said SIT can't be constituted just because some random person is asking for it. Within 24 hours, the chief minister makes a U-turn and constitutes an SIT. And there are two things that have changed today. One, we are told that the SIT was constituted after the CM received certain instructions from Delhi to do so. Now, the first question is, who gave these instructions from Delhi and what made the CM change track, a complete U-turn within 24 hours? From saying that we can't constitute an SIT based on random allegations by a random person, how did the allegations become so serious within 24 hours? Two, we are very reliably learning that certain senior police officials advised the chief minister and the state government that before constituting an SIT, it would be prudent to at least hold a small preliminary inquiry upon the credentials of the man making these allegations and also on the allegations and the nature of the allegations itself. Because this masked man had come out with a human skull in his hand. And the police wanted to find out whose skull is he carrying, who is this person, And this person claimed that he was an ex-employee of Dharmasthala. They wanted to verify whether he indeed was an ex-employee of Dharmasthala. Did he have any linkage with the institution? No preliminary inquiry was conducted. And in this 24-hour period from the allegation to the CM denouncing constitution of rejecting the idea of an SIT, to this U-turn and constitution of an SIT, an entire ecosystem of YouTubers, of hundreds of YouTube channels, certain agenda-driven media, starting from these small local YouTube channels to BBC. They sent their special stingers here and created this global narrative that thousands of murders have taken place in this temple town. Now, why Dharmasthala? Is this the first time that an effort was made to destabilize this institution? No. An entire exercise was done earlier under the Saujanya case, murder case. That failed. Now, and also look at this, Padmaja, how well orchestrated and well detailed this whole script was. A lady, an old poor lady was created. A fictitious daughter was created. That daughter was fictitiously raped. Few photographs were fabricated. And the story was told that like her, there are 1,000 plus cases. Not one, not tens, not hundreds. Mind you, this question was asked repeatedly to this guy. He said 1,000 plus such cases have occurred over the last few years. And he said he was the only single point of contact or person who was entrusted with disposing of these bodies. And he said, this Vikram Betal, every night he would go to the forest with a dead body hanging on his shoulder, go and bury and come. On the face of it, the allegations are so ludicrous, so shocking.
And that is why they made the SIT,
kind
to
of
find out whether the
propaganda
allegations are correct or not. And the BJP welcomed it.
Even when the SIT, one second, even when the SIT was constituted, we welcome the constitution of the SIT because we want the truth to be out. Even today, we are not on that point. We are on the point of what changed between the chief minister saying we won't constitute an SIT and the SIT being constituted. Who were these Delhi leaders who instructed him to do so? One. Two, would they have shown the same kind of alacrity, urgency and enthusiasm in constituting an SIT if similar allegations were, say, made against a non-Hindu religious institution? Would they have done that? That is the second question. Third, in this very legislative assembly session, the state government has brought about 3 legislations. One to constitute a special anti-communal task force in coastal Karnataka purportedly to, solve communal violence incidents. But everybody knows that it is targeted at the Hindu organizations and the Hindu Karyakartas. Second, they have legislated a hate speech curbing bill, again very secularly, very non-harmful sounding, but again the intent being very vicious to curb the freedom of expression of specifically majority community leaders. And third, at the insistence of Rahul Gandhi, the state government drafted the Rohit Vemula bill. If you have gone through the bill, it is so draconian in nature that even the Congress party MLAs themselves went to the chief minister and advised him not to, introduce it in the assembly session. Now, I want all of these to be seen in the same light. Anti-communal violence, task force, hate speech bill, Rohit Vemula bill at Rahul Gandhi's instance, and constitution of an SIT very hurriedly, without any preliminary investigation, just because there are allegations made against a very serious Hindu institution upon instructions from Delhi. But who is to benefit from this?
But
who are the people behind this? And let me tell you, Padmaja, the masked man and these 4 or 5 YouTubers who have come for 1 second.
Yeah, but that's when the government says that this is your brand of politics. You are trying to string all of this together to say that Congress is anti-Hindu, whereas all they wanted to find out was whether such a murder or rape or burial ever took place. There were activists who started writing to the government saying, look, you have to get to the bottom of this story. If indeed women have been disappearing, tell us one way or the other. And so they said, okay, let the truth come out. And when it didn't, they arrested the man.
Yes, Padmaja, we welcomed the constitution of an SIT. I'm reiterating that. But this Congress government, in its effort to dig the truth, went so deep, literally digging, that, in one instance where this person, this masked whistleblower claimed to have buried dead bodies, a few more, inches further down, they would have found water. That much digging the Congress government did. Not 1 day, not 2 days, 16 full days. My only question is, would they have shown the same urgency, alacrity, enthusiasm in doing this if it was a non-Hindu institution? And who were the people who came and gave this request to the Chief Minister? People of the state know this. A same set of, motley group of urban Naxals, leftist organizations, they go and meet with the Chief Minister. And after their meeting, the Chief Minister says, we will constitute an SIT. The first reaction of the Chief Minister was, no, we will not do it. Then this meeting with this, motley group of well-known usual suspect leftist organizations happens. Then some instructions comes from Delhi. Just like perhaps this Rohit Vemula bill got drafted after Rahul Gandhi's insistence. Then the CM makes a U-turn. Then an SIT is constituted. And even after that, the first day they dug up, in 3-4 places, nothing came about. The second day, nothing came about. Third day, 16 full days this drama went about. And today the reason why they are making these token arrests of this whistleblower is because the people of Karnataka, the millions of devotees of Lord Manjunatheshwara and Dharmasthala are extremely angry. And they see this government and the Congress party as a co-conspirator in this larger conspiracy. Which is why they are making these token arrests. But now you tell me, Padmaja, 1 second, you tell me, as a... No, our demand is very clear. Can an SIT that was originally constituted, or rather as a result of this conspiracy, an SIT that came about as a result of this conspiracy, can this SIT now be entrusted with exposing the conspirators?
Okay, so let me ask you this. If indeed the Congress, at the behest of somebody in Delhi, as you allege, made this giant conspiracy, then haven't they ended up committing a self-goal? They would have gone the whole hog and said yes. They would have planted some skeletons and said, look, here are all the mass burials, here are all those bodies. They would have gone ahead with this conspiracy till its logical end. Why would they then go back on the original assumption and strike a self-goal?
Padmaja, I think you have been listening to this masked man, this whistleblower, too much, is why you have swallowed this whole thing too, taken it literally too seriously. It is very difficult to do all this, planting of skeletons and etc. Perhaps if they had more time, I would say they would have even done that, because that's how detailed the conspirators have gone in, making this entire make-believe story. They have created a fictitious, woman, brought a poor old lady, created a fictitious, a daughter for her, got that daughter fictitiously raped, created fabricated stories and photographs of this lady. What all have they done? What all have they done? BBC sent special stingers. And a posse of senior advocates challenge the injunction order on behalf of the sanitation worker. There are news channels, there are certain news portals, Padmaja, that openly did fundraising campaigns saying we need your public money, we need public money to challenge these injunctions in the court to unearth the truth. This was the nature of the viciousness of this campaign. And this went on for 16 full days. Every single day, the state, the police, the ministers, the CM, everybody monitoring all of these things. To a point when nothing came about, the only way to save face is to say, okay, now we are going to arrest the whistleblower. But who is this whistleblower? But a pawn in this large conspiracy. Who are the people who funded these lawyers? Who were the people who coordinated this entire media, ecosystem, social media, YouTubers? Who funded all of them? These are questions. Who are the people who wrote the script? These are questions that need to be answered, and nothing less than a CBI inquiry will bring the truth out.
Okay.
Because the SIT today that is constituted is a result of this conspiracy.
Okay, so will there be a CBI probe? Now it's incumbent on the state government, because all of these questions are still left hanging in the air. Tejasvi Surya, thanks very much for joining us here. So was there more to the Dharmasthala case than what meets the eye? Joining us on the buck stops here, we have Arvind Bellad, Deputy Leader of Opposition in Karnataka Legislative Assembly, and Dinesh Gundu Rao, Minister of Health and Family Welfare. I want to start with you, Mr. Dinesh Gundu Rao. Is there a larger conspiracy involved? Why is it that so much attention and importance was given to a masked man? What was the veracity? What was the background check?
See, firstly, he is not a masked man. He's been given witness protection by the courts, and under the law, he remains a masked man because he's under witness protection. That is first. Second thing is the matter is still being investigated because the allegations that were made were sensational, and this is not happening just today. It's been around, these kind of allegations have been around for the last many, many years in that region, and all kinds of allegations were always being made by even people close to the BJP, by the left people. Many other people were making all these kinds of allegations. So when this kind of a sensational and really shocking kind of statements were made, I think the government, initially even I as a district in charge minister had said that the Dakshin Kannada police can do it. But I think in terms of getting a clarity, transparency, accountability, the SIT is formed, and SIT is going about its job in a very professional manner, and investigations are still going on. So,
but Mr. Gundu Rao, there will be many people who will come with sensational allegations. Here is a man who has woken up. He says that I was told to bury bodies en masse between 1995 and 2014. The first question would be, why have you woken up in 2025? Why is it that all of these years there was no missing persons complaint? Nobody rang the alarm. There was nobody who said, listen, there are hundreds of girls, women going missing in that entire area. And suddenly this person wakes up and an SIT or a police investigation is launched.
I would say that let's wait for the SIT to complete its investigation. We do not know the outcome yet. And 14, 15 places, I think, have been exhumed. And I think in 2 places, they've found some fragments and bones. So they're looking at it, and they also forensic analysis of the exhumed sites also are taking place.
No,
so
but
that
has already been found to be remains of a man. One possibly has committed suicide.
See,
both of them belong to a man. There are no women's remains found.
I'm saying, let's see, these are all people, you, me, others say. The SIT is still doing forensic analysis of all the sites and also looking into it. That is one part. The second part is, SIT was welcomed by everybody, including BJP, including Dharmasthala Hegde, Virendra Hegdeji, including many people, all said yes, SIT is needed because of the kind of, this became a national news. Why were you covering it? Why was the entire media in India covering it? Why was international news covering it?
Because there was a state SIT set up. If the government is going to sanctify an allegation by setting up a special investigation team, we will cover it.
I'm sorry, before the SIT was formed itself, this had become a huge news all over. And we took time in forming the SIT. And so the SIT was done to bring about, so now if the Dakshin Kannada police had done it, many people would have said there's a cover-up job. There's somebody, local people are doing something. They're trying to close the case. They're not trying to do the investigation properly. Today, nobody can say anything because the government, we as a government, have not played, this way or that way. Neither did we shift to the right nor to the left. We've been at the center. We want investigation to go on properly. And SIT, because of the kind of officers heading the SIT also, gave it a lot of credibility. And today, whatever SIT has been finding out is getting traction because of the credibility that SIT has got.
But Mr. Gundu Rao, with the greatest of respect, the fact that this entire case was trumped up is borne out by the developments of the last 24 hours.
The
fact that your SIT has arrested that same man on whose evidence, on whose testimony they were relying. Your SIT says he's a liar.
I'm saying you're coming to conclusions. Let the SIT say that this has been trumped up. The SIT is investigating both sides now.
Then why has the SIT arrested him?
Because it's looking at from the both sides. One is they're still doing the analysis of the sites. Okay, this is not a simple job. Second thing is they are also looking at whether this is because the skull which was brought by that man, they have found out that does not belong to any of these sites. That is a bogus skull.
Correct.
Correct.
So how can you rely on a man whose centerpiece argument was a human skull which turned out to be that of a man?
So are you the SIT? Have you confirmed everything? No, right?
So let me ask you simply, why has the SIT arrested this masked man Chinnaya? Why has he been arrested?
They-
If indeed he is credible, why is he
been
under
taken
arrest today?
Yes, because of his statements he is made, because of the kind of statements he made. So that is up to the SIT. SIT will investigate. We have said SIT will investigate everything. If there is a conspiracy, we'll investigate the conspiracy. Who are the people behind it? Why were they doing it? What was their motive? What is their intention? That is one side. On the other side, the exhumed sites are also, investigation is still continuing. Nobody has said, SIT has not said that there's nothing there.
So
This
you're
is
still
you and
saying
me.
that this case is still underway. You are not saying that this was a giant hoax. There could still be substance
There
in the
could
fact
be.
that there
I
were
don't
mass
know.
burials in
How
Dharmasthala.
do you know? How do you know? How do I know?
But because that's a very big statement. You are saying that there is
I'm
still the
saying-
possibility that mass burials took place in Dharmasthala.
I'm just saying that I don't know. So SIT is still investigating.
Okay.
So
All
let-
right,
let-
because
let
we
SIT
were given to believe otherwise. Because this man was arrested, because he has committed perjury, it naturally follows that he is a liar, that he has
See,
lied about the evidence so far. But you
that's-
are saying that this is
I'm-
still not a closed chapter. You could
I'm-
still come up with
I'm
conclusions
saying-
that there were
I'm
mass
saying-
burials and rapes and murders.
I'm saying that the SIT should conclude its findings. Let's not jump to conclusions.
Okay.
When there is no political interference, we are not here to take political capital like the BJP is trying desperately now. After welcoming the SIT, suddenly they've woken up and saying, why is the SIT formed? What are they doing? See,
Okay.
they want to re-political. We don't want that. We
Okay,
want
so
the
this
truth
is
to
a
come
fair
out. That's it.
investigation, Mr. Bellard. You welcome the formation of the special investigation team. Let's look at the sequence of events. First, you had on the 22nd of June, the first time that two advocates made these allegations that here is a whistleblower. Then on the 2nd of July, this man goes and lodges a police complaint. Subsequently, on the 11th of July, he recorded his statement before a court. And it is after all of this that finally the state government makes the SIT. What do you expect them to do? To tell a person making such grave charges to get lost without an investigation?
No, absolutely not. See, when a person comes with an allegation that I was part of the mass burial, ideally the government should have arrested him first. They should have put him behind the bar. They should have inquired who are the other culprits who were involved in that mass burial along with him. So that should have been the ideal case. Instead of that, they took his case. The exhumation of the body is not possible. Like they cannot do. The police cannot do it. Then they went to court based on this guy's allegation. Then from the court, they have taken the permission to exhume the body. So, but during the entire course, the first thing they should have done is they should have arrested that Chinnaya.
But how can they
What
arrest
is
him?
his
He's a
background? They should
whistleblower.
have done the
Technically, he's a
verification.
whistleblower. If somebody says that I've got evidence
No.
of a crime committed 3 decades ago, he's technically a whistleblower. He'll be protected. He was given protection as a witness.
It is not so. He is not a whistleblower. He was part of the. He is an abettor. He was part of that burial. That is his claim. He has done all those the bodies he has buried. So if he has buried, he's party to the whole process with someone. So ideally they should have arrested him and they should have made an inquiry, found out his background. See, there are so many cases, even in the assembly, we make so much of noise to make an SIT or start an investigation or give it to NIA. The government has not responded to any one of them. Some unknown man, he comes and makes this kind of a very serious allegation because the allegation, there was a Saujanya case. The whole case belongs to that Saujanya case. Saujanya case, there was a CBI inquiry and CBI has done like a clean chit to Dharmadikari's family and the Dharmasthala case. So these are the same leftists. Actually, if it was left to Mr. Dinesh Gundurrao, I'm sure he would have just left it to local police and local police would have inquired and this would not have been such a case. I think as he himself was told in one of the interview, there was a huge pressure probably on the government. And all these people, like the people who have put the pressure, they're all the people who sit in Chief Minister's
Mr.
house and
Gundurao,
in his
this
close
was
circle.
state-sponsored.
They
In
are the
fact, this is
leftist,
something that even
ideologist,
Prahlad Joshi has
leftist
said. He
people.
has said, and I
So
quote,
this is
the Dharmasthala case stands exposed as a sponsored attack on Hindu faith. The Congress government jumped on it and fully utilized its toolkit to try and defame an ancient Hindu temple. There has been a history to this. There have been repeated attempts, and yet another attempt was made through a quote-unquote toolkit.
No, one of the biggest persons who's making serious allegations in this matter is a Hindu Jagran Vedike fellow, okay, whom has been arrested, that Timrudi or whatever his name is. So this is not just left or right or anyone. These are some local people who have been making these kind of allegations for years and years. And the BJP has been in power there also. And even their own MLAs in Dakshin Kannada district, Mangalore district, when it comes to Saujanya, they'll say, we don't want to make any comment. So there, each one is playing their own games there. All I'm trying to say is, what is important here is not to get carried away by any sloganeering or any emotional angle. The truth should come out. And the SIT is doing its job perfectly.
But Mr. Gundurao, this is a very emotional issue, because here you have a place which is frequented by thousands of devotees. You've seen in the last 3 months the kind of press it has got. From India to abroad, suddenly there was a slew of stories about mass rapes, burials. The silence hangs heavy over this entire temple town about how women were being exploited by the hundreds inside a temple. It is an extremely emotional issue as well. And at the end of it, what do you get? If you're indeed saying that these charges were being made for several years, there must be some reason that they weren't taken seriously. Because there was no evidence.
I'm saying this man came out with this kind of statements. All I'm trying to say here is that, yes, it is a very emotional issue. But when we as lawmakers, we should be a little bit more circumspect. We should, when the police cannot become emotional, police have to go by the evidence. They have to go by the investigation, right? So let the SIT complete its investigation. If you look at the SIT's functioning, they are not doing they've not taken any wrong step. They first found out what all he has pointed out to, exhumations, his statements, everything. Now they're looking at it from both angles. Why did he do it? What was his allegations? And they have also taken him into custody. And they're also looking at all the other people.
But did they do their due diligence? Did they ever bother finding out, sir, if a woman comes and says, I have a daughter and she went missing. This lady did not even have a picture of her daughter. And then she said that I was very depressed. I burnt all the pictures. Where was the due diligence done?
So she was
such
not
a serious charge where a place of worship is being besmirched. But basic investigation, was it done on the ground?
Somebody made a statement. Why are you blaming SIT for that? SIT didn't take a statement seriously. Why are you assuming that they took it seriously? They didn't. And the second part is, they are looking at it from every angle. See, an investigation is not how you conduct or I conduct. They look at the evidence, they look at it from all angles, and they'll come out with the final report or an interim
Mr.
report.
Ballard, if
so
let
them come out with it.
Okay, if all angles are being
jumping to
investigated,
conclusions?
what is your problem? Why are you jumping the gun to try and do politics over this?
No, we are not at all against the investigation. We are against the whole process. You know, they should have arrested him first, and the kind of why this kind of protection was given to him, like for 6-7 hours, he used to be with the SIT team. No, 6-7 hours he is with the SIT. Afterwards, he goes and meets certain leftist people. And they say, first he says, okay, it is the 10.
How do you know that the leftist people were behind
bodies have to be exhumed.
How do you know that leftists were behind
Mr. Dinesh Gundra himself said that because of the leftist pressure, we were supposed to go and
No, I said that the left is involved, the right is involved. There are so many people who've got an axe to grind over there. There are not just one section here. And there are people who, some even senior high court judges, retired judges also came on and said that there should be an SIT. So now the thing is, maybe some people bought into this. Maybe he could be a fraud, or maybe there is some truth to it. We don't know. Let the SIT come out with it.
But
again,
Mr. Gundurao, your own Deputy Chief Minister wasn't convinced. One also wonders, why is it that the investigation went on despite the fact that Mr. D.K. Shivakumar himself said that this seems to be a conspiracy. If people are conspiring against Dharmasthala, they should be acted against. He wasn't convinced, and yet the probe went on.
The probe has to go on because I can say anything. As a minister, I can say anything. But the police have to go by the evidence. They have to conclude the investigation, right? They have to. A lot of forensic analysis also is taking place, and they are doing it from all angles. So nobody is going to be spared. Somebody has done something wrong. If that person is a fraudster, if he has done all kinds of nonsense,
But he is a fraudster. He is a fraudster.
Then he has to be punished. He has to be severely punished.
But
and not only him.
But one also
all
needs to know who is behind him. What does a
exactly.
sanitation worker get from reviving a case from 3 decades ago? Surely he can't be acting alone. Who is he acting in concert with?
That's the investigation they have to do, and they are doing it.
But sir, why then you do not have a central investigation?
I mean, that is left to now. Now you don't believe the SIT, so then we will give it to NIA if you want. I have no problem. As long as the truth comes out.
But
I have
Mr.
no issue with the
CBI
does.
The Home Minister has ruled it out. He is saying that I don't think there is any need for a central investigation. Today we are at a position where the SIT carries out a probe. It turns out that the man was lying throughout. It turns out that people who were making claims of their daughters going missing have no daughters at all. Do you expect people to have faith in that SIT?
Oh, so now you don't want the SIT, so NIA becomes the perfect body. CBI becomes the perfect body.
Do you think the SIT has done a good job?
I think the SIT is doing a fantastic job because they're not going into any of these sensational things. They are going professionally. They're doing a superb job, and we should commend them instead of mudslinging them and defaming our police and defaming our investigative agencies.
Mr. Ballard.
The Congress party has been very neutral in this. We are not for anybody or against anybody.
Okay, the Congress has got nothing to do with this. The SIT was only following the evidence where it took them. Why don't you just wait? Maybe the SIT will end up uncovering who is the person or the power behind this entire conspiracy, as you name it. Mr. Ballard.
Yeah, like this is exactly the same thing. Like we have demanded that there should be an SIT too. Like there has to be an inquiry, and who are the people behind this? Who are the people who are trying to defame a Hindu temple? Who are the people who are trying to defame the people who are running this temple? This is a temple where thousands and thousands of people go every day, everywhere. After Tirupati, this is one of the most popular temple in the southern India. This leftist and these Christian organizations, we genuinely feel.
I'm sorry, I don't think we should make allegations against the community.
Hindu
this is not right,
Hindu temples of worship.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Padmaji, you can't make allegations against the community, Christian.
No,
there are so many Hindus.
You need not.
His own Hindu Jagran Vedike fellow is one of the main persons in this. A lot of Hindus are there in this.
No,
why are you saying Christian organizations? Say Hindu organizations also. Say both.
No, this is the leftist Christian organizations who are using.
This is not right.
Who are the main
this is what the
people
BJP
behind
is all
that,
about,
trying to use.
They want to communalize this. They want to use it for a political benefit. They're not bothered about the truth. Dharmasthala, nobody is going to stop going to Dharmasthala. People believe in Dharmasthala. People have faith in Dharmasthala. That will not go down. People want the truth to come out. That's it.
This is not just about politics or any one political party or government. It's about the hundreds and thousands of devotees who feel that they have been deliberately led to doubt their place of worship. Thanks very much, Mr. Dinesh Gundu Rao, Mr. Arvind Ballard, for joining us on the Buck Stops here. Look, the politics aside, there are uncomfortable questions about Dharmasthala that the Karnataka government simply cannot walk away from. Questions like, on what basis did they entertain a wild complaint by a man who had remained silent for 30 years? Did it not occur to anyone that if thousands of young women were disappearing in such a small town, that disappearance could not have gone unnoticed? Did the police actually believe that none of these women would have their relatives looking for them, filing police cases, knocking at the doors of various courts? Did none of these questions occur to those who wrote reams of newsprint about waves of horror and pain sweeping over Dharmasthala? Why were these basic facts not checked by the enlightened ones that walk among us, who pontificate and lecture on everything? Isn't it strange that some people remain mum about complaints of sexual harassment and texting rape fantasies against a Congress MLA in 2025 but jumped at a fact-free charge of sexual assault and murder from 1995? These are questions that millions of Dharmasthala devotees are asking today, and they must be answered. If this is a conspiracy, names must be named. If the state SIT can do it, great. Else, whether it's the CBI or the NIA or someone else, the buck stops here. The big question that is being asked now across the country, is there vote chori underway? Rahul Gandhi said that he has an atom bomb of proof to show how. The Election Commission said, great, give us the proof on affidavit. But a week later, that affidavit hasn't come. 1 week deadline over, no affidavit, no apology. So what next? What happens to Rahul Gandhi's vote chori campaign now? And more importantly, what happens to those people who were branded vote chores by him in that press conference? Even as we speak, an unfazed Rahul Gandhi is carrying this same message across Bihar through his Vote Adhikar Yatra. The drumbeat is being built up for sure, but what about the facts? Let's look at the Election Commission first. Yesterday, the poll panel put out clear data for Bihar's special intensive revision so far. According to this data, documents of 98.2% of voters, that's right, 98.2% of voters in Bihar have already submitted their documents. 8 days are still left for claims and objections. The interesting part is that while 1,21,143 claims and objections have been received from voters within their constituency, which means that over 1 lakh voters have gone and said, look, we have a problem with this draft roll, either add our name or remove it. They have asked for corrections. But only 10 complaints have been made by BLAs from 12 political parties, which basically means that political parties are on the street saying votes are being stolen, vote chori is happening, but they are not taking their complaints where they can actually be addressed with the poll panel. Anyway, so the EC has furnished the data. What about the other side? 7th of August, Rahul Gandhi held that press conference saying voter discrepancies took place in Karnataka during the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. 17th of August, EC held a press conference, answered his allegations and asked for an affidavit within a week. 24th of August, that is yesterday, that deadline has run out. The proof has not been given on affidavit, making one ask, is this more fury than fact, more smoke than fire? And are some of these allegations actually being manufactured in a shoot and scoot spree? Let us tell you why we say that, which is 5 examples that have been quoted by the Congress and which shockingly have emerged eventually as not being factual. And by the way, there are many more of such examples because there has been a slew of such allegations. What were just 5 that we have picked up and what is the truth that eventually emerged? Let's tell you about that. So case number 1 that was quoted came from Varanasi. In ward number 51 there, a list was produced which showed that one man had been named as father to over 50 people. Now, there was much smirking about that because looking at that list, it was said, oh, look, he has got 50 sons. One of them is 28 and the oldest is 72. How is that even possible? While the fact is, point number 1, that particular list was from a municipal election, a municipal corporation election in Varanasi. Second, the man who has been named as father is because of the Guru Shishya Parampara. He is a Mahant of a temple there and all of his followers, all of his Shishya who live there have put his name as their father. So he hasn't actually fathered them, he is unmarried, but they have put his name in the column of father. So that's as far as claim number 1 is concerned. Claim number 2, there were 3-4 different people who were named. Gurkirat Singh Dang. It was said that he has voted, not just registered, that he has voted at 4 booths. Gurkirat Singh Dang said, no, it was a mistake. I ended up getting 4 voter cards, but I have cast my vote at only and only 1 booth and it can be proven. Second, there was another man from Uttar Pradesh, Aditya Srivastav, who was registered according to that press conference in Karnataka, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, but it was said he has voted in all 3. That claim also was disputed by the man himself. He said, I have voted only in Karnataka, never in Maharashtra or Uttar Pradesh. That was where I used to vote earlier. I changed these locations because of my job. Then came a rather fantastical claim that here is a woman who is 124 years old, Minta Devi. The Congress party, many of its MPs inside parliament, wore t-shirts which said 124 not out. Because they said, hey, look, here is a woman who is 124 years old and her name is there in electoral rolls. Turns out that Minta Devi was born in 1990. She is 34 years old, but because accidentally she put her date of birth as 1900, it automatically showed up as 124 years old. It was a computing error And that is why SR is being carried out, to make sure that such errors are corrected. Let's come to the next claim. A claim was made that Ranju Devi, in fact, that lady was produced before Rahul Gandhi and Tejaswi Yadav during the Vote Adhikar Yatra, where she said that I and 6 of my family members have had our names struck off the list. Cut to 24 hours later, the same lady said, I was misled by my village Sachiv, by the secretary of my village. He told me our names are missing. The BLO has come and shown the name of me and my family member on the voter rolls. Her name is there. Ranju Devi's name is there. Her family member's name is there. Then again, there was another case where you had a man called Subodh Kumar, who again turned up here in that rally of Rahul Gandhi, stood next to him and said that my name has been struck off. It later emerged that it had got nothing to do with the SIR at all. His name was not in the voter roll earlier as well. That's as far as Subodh Kumar is concerned. The thing is that we've said again and again, there could be errors. There could be errors that are corrected. But are some of these claims actually being manufactured, of people being struck off voters' list? And then, of course, one claim that you will hear manufactured and regurgitated again and again and again, that you've got hundreds of people living in house number 0. A similar claim was then modified slightly to say that you have got hundreds of people in Rajasthan, in Jhotwada, Jaipur rural, whose house number is the same. It's 99999, 5 times 9. And the Election Commission has actually explained this. Just like in other areas where the house number is listed as 0, there are also houses which are given the bulk number of 99999 because they live either in urban clusters or in villages where houses don't have numbers. So for the sake of registration, they are given these bulk numbers. The point is that when such allegations are made and evidence is not furnished, there are people who are impacted, there are people who are branded vote chores, and then they wonder, what do they do next? So who are these people who have been made the faces of vote chori? What is their story? What is their reality? Gurkirat Singh Dang, one of the people who was named as the duplicate voter in Rahul Gandhi's press conference, joins us live now. Gurkirat, thanks very much for speaking to us here on The Buck Stops Here. Are you a vote chor?
जी नहीं, ये सब राहुल गांधी जी जब बोले आकर, उसके बाद ही मुझे पता चला कि क्या हो रहा है प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में और सब जगह, और ट्रोल्स एंड एवरीथिंग को मैंने देखा। उसके बाद पता चला एक्चुअली में कि क्या हो रहा है। बट नहीं, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है। मेरे पास एक ही वोटर आईडी है और मैंने एक ही बार वोट डाला है।
हम कैसे भरोसा करें? 4 ऐसे आपके अलग अलग बूथ हैं जहां पे आपका नाम दर्ज है। देखिए, वो बाकायदा प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में उन्होंने आपके ये एविडेंस के साथ राहुल गांधी ने दिखाया था। कौन से हैं वो बूथ नंबर? 116, 124, 125, 126। कैसे कोई विश्वास करेगा कि हो सकता है आपने चारों बूथ में एक के बाद एक जाकर के वोट डाल दिए हो बीजेपी को?
जी, पहली बात तो ये कि वो जो इंक लगाई जाती है हाथों पर, उंगलियों पर, वो कोई ऐसा मजाक तो है नहीं कि उसको तुरंत हटाकर कोई इंसान दूसरे बूथ में जाके वोट डाल सकता है। और दूसरी बात ये कि जब मैंने वोटर आईडी अप्लाई किए थे, पहली बार ही किए थे पिछले साल, और जब पहला वोटर आईडी अप्लाई किया तब वहाँ पर एक रिजेक्शन आया था और वो रिक्वेस्ट ठीक से सबमिट नहीं हुई थी या क्या था रीज़न, आई एम नॉट श्योर। तो मैंने एक बार और सेम रिक्वेस्ट डाली। उसी को मैंने जब दोबारा किया तब इशू आया, फिर एक बार और किया तब सेम प्रॉब्लम आई, सेम इशू आया। तो 4 बार यूं ही सेम एरर्स आए थे, तो मैंने उसके बाद दोबारा अप्लाई नहीं किया। पर फिर क्योंकि इलेक्शंस बहुत पास में थे, तो मुझे आई जस्ट वांटेड टू मेक श्योर कि मेरे पास कुछ ना कुछ कोई एक वोटर आईडी ज़रूर हो, इसलिए मैंने दोबारा अप्लाई किया। बट किया तभी जब रिजेक्शन आया था। उसके बाद कुछ एक दिन